tried to rule Earth. They'd be lucky to have you. I'm sorry about that thing with the Tesseract. I just couldn't help myself. I'm a trickster.
Yes, just so mischievous.
Sorry about that time I turned you into a frog.
It's a wonderful joke.
Build a statue for me.
Big statue for you.
With my helmet on. With the big bendy horns.
I will tell Father what you did here today.
I didn't do it for him.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 3 of the Loki review series. I am the Dagger, Trasnell, and I'm joined by...
I am the timekeeper, Kirklin Patzer.
I'm the metaphor, Taylor Field.
For once, Kirklin, I'm going to say that yours was the weakest. I feel like you used Timekeeper 3 weeks. I feel like that's a pretty easy go-to one.
I use it 3 weeks in a row.
Space.
Are you sure?
No, I mean, like, to use it now, 3 weeks later, it's like, it's just like, it was a strange call. What was the motivation behind using it today?
Because I couldn't think of a better one to use. That wasn't a spoiler.
That's fair.
So,
that happens
yeah.
to us all, man. that happens. Ladies and gentlemen, yes, we are here
Better
to
than just keep it the little piggy. I was like debating. I'm like, probably shouldn't have that for the Loki review.
Yeah, check out the last newscast. Good one there. We got a newscast coming up tomorrow. Yeah, when you're hearing this recording tomorrow, we got lots of fun stuff. We got Suicide Squad trailer. We got a Snake Eye trailer. We got a trailer called Karen. I'm very excited. Kirkland, have you heard about this at all, this Karen movie? Oh, man, it's going to be a good newscast. So tune in live to that. Taylor, where can they find us for all that stuff before I continue to plug away?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us with your internet connection in the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerse is our Facebook. GeekVerseCast is our Twitter. And, of course, Patreon. GeekVerse.
Your Patreon. You usually never throw out the Patreon, so you're just stealing some of my gimmicks.
I know. I felt bad, but I thought I'll just segue into you. You can continue on the Patreon train.
Well, yes, at the Patreon, we have ad-free, exclusive, and early episodes. So there's a bunch of retros, commentary tracks, reviews, just fun stuff up there that are only on Patreon. If you don't like ads, perfect feed for you. Get stuff early. It's a lot of good things going on there. If you like what we do, please head over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star written review. That's what helps. That helps spread the word, helps get the algorithms going, helps new people find the podcast. If you want to keep up to date, like Taylor said, Twitter and Facebook, check out our podcast network, 7 days a week, 9 show. We really had a fun cast last week. It was the 1-year anniversary, so all 3 of us on there with a bunch of the guys there, and really good time. I just joined Heinz for the Long Halloween review that came out, and oh boy was I disappointed in that. My favorite graphic novel, again, DC fails me. Not Killing Jokes level bad, but I would say go check it out there if you're wondering what my thoughts are going to be. We did a whole, I think, over an hour on that, so that's live right now. What else is going on? Check out our separate feeds. We have 4 feeds. We have the main feed where you can get everything, and then we have the review, news, and retrospective where you get those specific episodes on those feeds. So you get all those episodes at the same time. I think that is everything. We're doing Loki every week. Black Widow's coming up. Me and Taylor are going to do Fast and Furious. So we got lots of stuff popping off right now in the GeekVerse universe. But right now we got Loki, and I'm excited because this is, like, I feel like the most awake I've been for a Loki. I specifically went to the gym before. I'm going to stay up, but I do have to say, for the video people, last week Taylor, he made a great video. So I think it was inspired by Baron Zemo dancing, everything like that. He made a video from, I don't know, some British show of Tom Hiddleston dancing, but we got flagged, which is fine because I just cut it and then it's back to being monetized. So it was flagged because it was from a talk show. He put graphics over and music and everything like that, but that got flagged. So I want to hear your motivation, Taylor. Why do you think if you get flagged for Tom Hiddleston dancing, that you don't think you're going to get flagged for the use of Thor Ragnarok?
I want to take some bets here. I want to know if you guys think it will be, because in my defense, I think that those talk shows are extremely on point with that kind of stuff. But I mean, anyone can upload a scene, like several clips of these Marvel movies. You have random YouTubers that post scenes. And again, I actually cut out scenes. So it's not the full scene. I cut out video parts. You can't hear any notable score in the background. And it's just, and then you have my dance, like, grooves in there. Like, so I'm pretty confident that this might get flagged. But if it does, then, I'll do a different one.
Kirkland, you think he's gonna get flagged?
I feel like I'm leaning more. He will get flagged, but it's not like a strong. It's probably like a 60% chance.
Oh, still in the positive though.
Still, yes, no 60% chance it's gonna get pulled, but
Okay,
40% wiggle room there. So.
Well, talking about Loki, which we're about to talk about right now. Taylorfield, what did you think about non-spoiler thoughts of episode 3, just to get us going? Obviously, last week was a big cliffhanger, Loki going through that portal, and did this live up to your expectations?
I mean, my expectations and predictions were different, and we'll get into that. Spoilers review, because that backfired. But
can't wait to see this.
Yeah.
Doesn't even fucking exist anymore.
This is a negative one. No, the episode overall was like fantastic. I loved it. It was definitely a pick me up over the last couple episodes. I really liked the dynamic that unfolded. And
pick me up. You saying you hated those last 2 episodes?
Yeah, no, they were great. Like so to have a pick me up on top of like top tier is
oh my gosh,
that's saying a lot.
You're peaking right now.
So orgasms. Yeah. This show is proven to be like. The show is like I think it's easily taken up my number 1 slot on Marvel shows. Like
wow, I was loving every second of
it. No, like, I'm not at this point. I'm loving every
episode. It just spends like they introduce Ghost Rider and they kill him off 5 minutes in, and Kevin Feige literally walks on screen and is like, "That's the last you've seen of Ghost Rider." In the
well,
MCU.
It can change. It can change. My opinion can change. It's not cemented in stone. But I'm loving everything we're getting so far, and
sounds like you didn't like the first 2 episodes though. If this was a pick me up, you know what I'm saying?
Well, no, as I said, like those first 2 are so top tier, and this is a pick me up from that, which is great. Like it's one upping itself as it goes. So again, the characters, like I'm loving everything we're getting with it. And I know originally a long time ago, if you go into like I think it was like our Marvel retros or whatnot. Or whatever it was, maybe it was a ratings show we were doing, and you guys were in awe and shock about how I ranked Loki, just because I didn't have like, in terms of like villains and like character wise, like I didn't find it was anything to write home about at the time. But in this, I love seeing. So I don't know if you remember.
Loki was never. I'm pretty sure it's either characters or villains. Yeah, you ranked him pretty low. I'm pretty sure you had someone like Whiplash above him.
Oh, he had like
no. Whiplash would not have been. If you go and check that, if it is, I'll eat my own words. I'll eat my words. But if I put Whiplash over Loki, I don't know what 2017 Taylor was on.
I think you definitely had Justin Hammer up there. Justin Hammer.
Just Hammer. He didn't know. He hates Hammer. But like you just said something like Loki wasn't much to write home about, and I feel like that's the most asinine. Like he's arguably the greatest villain.
That's what I was saying now. I don't know what I said quote unquote back then. That's just what I'm trying to paraphrase what I was thinking back then. All I can say as my earlier self was he was not a character out of all the Marvel characters that I was like diving into because of how they covered his story and his origin at the time. Again, I can't remember what Marvel films we got with him at the time, aside from Avengers, Thor, all that stuff. First Avengers movie, but
Thor Dark World, Thor Ragnarok.
I don't know if was Ragnarok out at the time when we did it. I can't remember.
Rankings?
No, Ragnarok when we did the rankings.
Oh yeah, we did the rankings after Spider-Man Far From Home. We waited till the entire phase, the Infinity Saga was done. So yeah, you'd seen all 4 movies he was in. Nice try, bucko.
Far From Home. So after Avengers Endgame as well?
Yeah, because phase 3
I feel like we did it much earlier on.
Well, you guys did one for the MCU retro where you guys would talk about like your favorite characters. So maybe that's because that was obviously well before.
Oh, well, we'll do some digging and find out. But anyway, so as far as Loki goes, we need interns, yeah. As far as that'd be horrible, dad entry. I'd fucking hate my life.
Go find what Taylor ranked Loki back in.
I hate my life. Yeah.
Fuck this job.
Hey, at least you're getting paid, buddy.
So this show again, like with Loki, this is the kind of show that I love how it's just again, I just the way that they're dealing with Loki, it's speaking my language. It's just speaking to me. I think it's because of the aesthetic of the show and everything that we're kind of getting with this storyline. It's just really diving into it. And when we get into spoilers, it'll be more fun to dive into that.
Kirklin, what did you think about?
I seen the episode and you got me with that little That little lead in.
Kirklin, was Loki a character for you that you didn't write home about? Nothing special going on?
No, but this episode was a pick me up.
Oh yeah, it was. I agree with that statement.
I'm gonna go the opposite direction with Taylor. I think this is my least favorite episode so far. And I'm not gonna say that it was like terrible. It's just the other episodes I liked more, and I'll get into why. Probably spoilers section, but I still really liked it. I liked where we went with it overall. I think even just like writing along the other positive things I said in the first 2 episodes, like I just love the aesthetic of the show. We are in a different location that I won't say, but it's just gorgeous. I mentioned like the TVA, just like station headquarters, whatever it is. I just love that style, and this one was very different from that, but I really, really liked it. Visually, really nice. Acting's still just killer, and overall it was a good episode. But I did think that it's the bottom so far for the 3 episodes that are out. And yeah, without getting too into spoiler, I don't know. I guess, can I like talk about female Loki, or are we just gonna go with that spoilers? Because people know about it. Yeah, like when she was shown at the end of the last episode, I feel like we were all just kind of like iffy on her. I don't know. I guess I can't. I'll let you guys speak on how you felt about her. But I for me personally, I wasn't super impressed on just like first impressions, but I feel like in this episode I'm still a little like unsure if I'm like fully in on this new character, but I think I like her more now. But I still think that there needs to be more from her for me to totally be in her camp. I don't know. Maybe I'm like a 60-70 right now on the character.
She's nothing to write home about, you know?
She's nothing to write home about.
Yeah. So yeah, I am. Where am I on this? I started the episode and I was a little disappointed. I'll get into that in spoilers because I was thinking we're going one route, and I was like, okay, yeah, maybe I got myself a little over excited. This is what we're doing, and it feels very kind of almost something like The Mandalorian, where it's like, okay, there's like a certain task we have to do, and it's like, is this gonna feel inconsequential later down the lines? Like, is this just like not a filler episode, but just like this gives our characters something to do? And maybe you can make that case that is that, but I think this ended up being my favorite episode because I do actually really like Lady Loki now. I like what we have going on. I like some of the reveals we got about certain people or situations or just some ideas. I think for me last week, I was like, oh, she didn't have that big presence. I was looking for that big like oomph moment. And now that I've met the character, it almost makes sense why she doesn't have that big oomph moment. And I'm excited to talk about in spoilers, but there's one scene in here that's definitely my favorite, probably Loki scene ever, maybe next to like him yelling at Anthony Hopkins or like the end of Thor 1 when he's like really going insane. But this is one of my favorite scenes in the MCU, maybe period. That's not a big action scene or portals, or maybe it's just up there. I've never made a rankings of them, but there's just one scene I could just live in for a full hour. I didn't need them to do anything else but just this one thing. So I'm excited about to talk about in spoilers. So it ended in a way that reminded me of WandaVision, where so far Falcon Winter Soldier would have, I feel like, cliffhangers, but always ended with, okay, I kind of know where we're going. And then WandaVision was last time where they'd have some episodes just end and it's like, okay, what the heck is next? This had that this episode. I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen now, which I think that's always a good thing. So yeah, we will talk about that all in the game again, spoilers. But yeah, I think they did a really good job. Good thing Taylor just shouting out spoilers on the YouTube thing. That's all right.
What do you mean? There's no spoiler in that.
I'm just bugging you. Calm down.
Crazy.
I can show my own images too, you know. So I think
sorry, I don't see anything.
But oh yeah, okay. Well, I think this was a really good episode, and I'm really excited to talk about because I think there's a lot of good theories and stuff that are going to come out of it, and I think there's a lot of good, fun things that we're gonna get into. I think it sets the stage for a very interesting final 3 episodes. We're halfway through, but it's again, the show reminds me, and I talked about this with Brent. He assured me that it would be different, but I just am very worried when we see Black Widow and we get these other MC movies. I just don't know if I'm going to love the movies as much as the shows. I just feel like I've been spoiled, and I love how we get to really take time with characters in these shows. And I think this episode really did that while putting us on a very fun adventure. So I'm excited to hear Kirklin's cons, you know, not his cup of tea or something like that.
What is his background?
But I can't say yet. I'll tell you in spoilers. So do we have anything non-spoilers to say? No. Okay, so we're going to take our first ad break, and then we'll be right back breaking down episode 3 in all its glory. It's back. So this, Taylor, is Lapnus, or whatever it's called.
Lamentus.
Lamentus, thank you. Yeah, Llama's bread.
Lamentus.
This is where they go. It looked much more HD when I saved it, but we're just going to rock it now, because when are we ever going to use Lamentus 1 as a background ever again? You know what I'm saying? So I looked it up. It's a planet on the edge of Kree, so it's kind of associated with that. But really, when you look it up, it was in Annihilation. Well, planet, moon, whatever, same thing. It has not much big canon or anything like that, so nothing to be like, oh, is this planet, does this mean something, you know? So now throwing all in the games comment, Taylor, you know, Taylor was out here trying to spoil everything. Seems to be an amalgamation of Lady Loki and Enchantress. Well, that's the interesting thing about her. So let's start with Lady Loki, because we learned a lot about her, but we still have lots to learn.
Sylvie.
I don't know what.
Sylvie.
Yeah, I'm still calling Lady Loki.
Name. Oh,
yeah, I'm still calling her Lady. Well, and that goes into
name. That's disrespectful.
So we have talked about, well, technically she's a Loki and she's a lady. It works, but this has been going on all week, and people have been theorizing whatnot. So Sylvie is the name of one of the enchantresses from Marvel. So the thing is she just a female Loki? Is she an enchantress that's posing as Loki, or that's what the thing is? This is why you listen to Marvel Alliance, because that's why I have Chris and Brent, two people that read comic books, have much more knowledge than I did. He threw out a good theory, and I think I'm getting it right. So Brent, you can yell at me if I'm not. But he had talked about one of the enchantresses that they had somewhat of like a relationship with Loki, and that's how she was trained a bunch of things, and he like died or went away or something like that. And I think she got some more of his essence. Like I said, this is paraphrasing, but so like had a relationship, got some powers from Loki. He went away, and in a sense, she was Loki because she kind of took that on, like that mantle on for him. So it's very interesting, the theories we got here, because I feel like there's enough of her relenting, being like, oh, she is just another female Loki. But then there's enough where she's like, don't call me a Loki. And like the way she'd even talk about that guy she's like seeing at the post office felt very cagey. And, Taylor doesn't like when I call these out because maybe it's just that I'm right. But I was making my jokes last week about how, they're going to fuck each other and all this stuff. But
no, I'm down. I thought we were going to get a sex scene. I was all for it.
Well, that moment when she tries to enchant him, sure, it's like, yeah, she can't enchant him. But man, they're throwing off some like heavy tension there.
I'm like, there's going to be a BJ scene right here. I'm just expecting it. And then I'm like, oh, wait, this MCU. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Kirklin, what are you, obviously, one, you can talk about you're still maybe not on board with Sylvie, but also, where are you in this? Like, again, it's very WandaVision. There's lots of theories being thrown around this character. What do you feel about her after this episode as far as who she is?
Yeah, so I feel like at the beginning of the episode, I was still in like the same camp as where I was at the end of the last episode, and just like feelings towards the character. And then, like you mentioned, like there was a lot of good character stuff, which I'm sure we're going to dissect more. But I think a lot of the mystery behind the character is what I'm intrigued in. But like, if I'm just calling her like a female Loki, I don't like what I'm getting from her up until this point. I am hoping that there's more layers. Maybe like I hope that theory that you're paraphrasing there regarding maybe she is just something different from what Loki is. I mean, she is a variant, but I feel like there is still some more layers just from what they talked about in this episode. But I feel like it's just because like I have like one image, or like the first time I saw like a version of female Loki, it's just like was nothing like what she is. And I feel like in my mind, again, this could be totally just like non-canonical, and it's just what I'm expecting from the character that might be unrealistic, but I feel like she's just like a lot more suave, and like maybe just more like I don't know, using her charms, and like a sexualized character. I don't know if that's, again, might be a dude bro comment thing to say, but bro. That's just something that I had in my head. So this character is very different from that. So I feel like maybe I'm just a little unsure on her, but I am pretty excited to just like, I don't know, seeing more about her and unveiling. Yeah, thank you. I cannot think of the word there, but just because I feel like in this episode there was more of Loki talking about like his backstory, which we got pretty much in every episode leading up to this one, but in hers it was really like dancing around the questions. So it's like, okay, I think there's going to be a really big reveal coming up. So in that instance, like I am excited to find out more about the character, but for her on her own, like I think she's a great actress and everything, but it's just like, I don't know, I want long black hair and like just I have this image in my head that it's I don't know, when the show's over, maybe it'll disappear and this will be my new favorite version of the female Loki character. But as of right now, I'm not completely sold, but I did like a lot of their dialogue. Like that was definitely one of the highest points in this episode. But
see, it sounds like you're on the other point where you're maybe hoping there is some sort of she is Enchantress or maybe someone else. Yeah. I'm on the other side where I actually am hoping she's just like another variant. She is just Lady Loki. Because last week I was like, the hair, like it's like the look. I wasn't digging it, but now with this week's episode, what I liked is I felt at first like, oh, she's supposed to be the big bad. So last week when she came on screen, like I don't feel his presence. I don't think it was a great debut. But then this episode to me clearly shows she's not going to be a big bad in that sense. She's going to be more, because I think we're learning who the real big bad's going to be. I think that her being like a companion or like the enemy of my enemy as a friend. I really like that. And I loved all the back and forth as far as one, just the like trying to up each other, like talking about what they would do and why what they're doing is stupid and everything like that, and how they have different powers and everything. I'll get into one scene I really like, but I love like constantly like the fighting. Because at one point she was kicking his ass. I was like, okay, is he just gonna be like just a punchline the whole time? But then he was starting to figure her out, and they do the classic like they pose the same. Like I was loving all this kind of. We talked about this before when he was on the crime scenes looking at it, but now literally with him having her right beside him, trying to outwit one another, and it's great because as the audience, it's just like. You never know who's going to be able to trust anybody. Like, is he lying? Is she lying? Are they both lying? Are they telling truth? So I think that sets it up like really well. And the scene that I just absolutely loved was that scene where they sit down at the dinner table or whatever table, and they just talk for like 10 minutes. And oh my God, that scene, I could have just like, I love that it's literally, it felt like a first date. Like that's what it did feel like, but it literally is just them talking about themselves to each other, because if she is a Lady Loki, and even for her, if that is a man Loki, you would be intrigued, right? And that's why I love that they're asking each other about these questions, because you would do the same thing if you met a version of yourself from a whole different time, like you'd be like, so what happened here? What happened here? So I love like the contrast, and this is why she might not be Lady Loki, but the contrast stories of like, I was adopted. That might be a spoiler. She's like, no, I knew that all the time. And she's like, really? Like, I didn't know that till later on. And then, but then she says like, oh, I didn't have my mother around. So it's like you said, she was dancing around. So I think there's more, even if she is Lady Loki, I still think there's clearly more. But I just was fascinated by that scene. We got Loki confirmed as bisexual in that scene as well too, which has been things in the comics and whatnot. But just like that whole thing of like, oh, you're a prince. You're always looking for a princess or a prince, and just that way, it's like he knows her because he's like, yeah, a little bit of both. Much like I bet you did the same, and she's like, yes, I did. So it's just like that scene, like I said, one of my favorite MCU scenes. I never wanted to end. I just found everything they were talking about just gripping, talking about magic, the story about referring to his mom. It just was like, bravo. Like I think there might be some stuff in WandaVision that might be a little higher, but I'd have to watch it. Like this is in contention for my favorite thing I've seen as far as the Disney Plus shows go, and I just loved that dinner table scene so much. Yeah, I'm 100% in your game on that scene. I loved just like that shot of them on both sides of it, and then you have like the barkeep kind of like blurred, but in the background just like doing stuff, and there's just like a party going on around them, but totally just had that first date vibes. That room alone was just gorgeous. It's I don't know what I would compare it to.
Kirklin's gonna remodel his bedroom into that whole design.
It almost reminded me. It almost reminded me of like Hunger Games and like that type of like world where it's just like very like low pour, but then there's like this very extravagant like train, filled fancy with like sci-fi. Elegant people. Yeah, exactly. Almost like Fifth Element or something like that. Yeah. But like in that instance,
or
when
Naboo.
they were yeah, Naboo, totally.
Well, that's the vibe I got when all those people had like those big dresses, and everything. Like Queen Amidala would be wearing this shit, like she would 100%. Be. That's what it felt like, Or it'd be more like Coruscant, I guess. That's where they're all obnoxious and wearing like these huge outfits.
Yeah, well, that's a collection of everyone, right, from all across the galaxy. But getting back to like their dialogue
I like
between,
that he had to hit me with that fucking Star Wars fact. Well, that's a collection of
I
all the
respect
galaxy
that,
tracks.
Kirklin. I
Oh,
appreciate
fuck
that.
off! They all dress weird over there. Get out of here. Oh god. And that's another
Snowpiercer,
great point.
there you
All the
go.
games, Snowpiercer,
Yeah,
100%. It's that like
100%.
it's that grimy but beautiful sci-fi that has that mix of futuristic but old at the same time. Like
Yeah,
Snowpiercer is futuristic, but it doesn't like it has like old time feel stuff. So
totally.
it had a whole, even the planet, like when they get into the downtown, it had a look and a
Oh,
feel, and
dude,
I
it's like
love it.
cyberpunk. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
very
so
Batman
good.
Forever-ish. But yeah, is that I agree with you. That set was great.
And yeah, so aesthetically super pleasing. Their dialogue I really really love, because like you said, like you just hit all the points of like, if you met someone like, okay, I hate you, you're opposing me, you're preventing me from getting my goal, but at the same time, like I just have so many questions, because like you're literally me, or supposedly, I guess. But there was some instances when he's like drinking, she's like, what do you do? I think this was actually after they sat down, but he's like,
Yeah,
oh,
it's
you're
when she
drinking,
takes
blah,
the
blah, blah.
nap.
And he's like I'm a hedonist, like, what do you like, this is who I am. And then she's like, oh, I know, like I'm 10 times worse than that, blah blah blah. But like I don't believe that whatsoever, just from like I understand she's on a mission, but like I don't know, like, and this goes back to my perception of what I feel female Loki should be. And again, I'm totally out my wheelhouse here. I have not dove into that character in the comics or anything like that, so there might be some hardcore people listening to this that are just upset with me saying this, but this is just my feelings on it. But like I'm just not convinced that she has that type of lifestyle of just like partying with men and women and just like drinking and just like being like what Loki was in this scene. And I feel like that's why I have some distaste for the character as of right now. And maybe I am in that camp that I am hoping that she is something different, because if the show ends and she's just like the same, like, gotta do the mission, like blah blah blah, like maybe she's a little intrigued about like his mother or something like that, some emotional stuff. But I don't know, I just want like Loki from what I know, and that might be selfish, but I don't know, that's why
I think, like, before Taylor, the one point you gotta look at is, I think it is because she is, like you said, it might be cheesy, but it is because she is on a mission and she just really wants to get this goal done. And I think you gotta look at it the same way as when we did during the mystery, where like Kid Loki has a lot of Loki features, but then there's other times where he's not, right? Like he has a lot more heart than Loki. So
True.
I'm guessing that variant hopefully would have that. But at the same time, if you were to put a gun to my head and ask me what it's going to be, I think they will reveal that she's not exactly a Lady Loki. I just feel like that they are already being so cagey, and like you said, she's not revealing everything. It's just, okay, I just feel like if you were the Loki, we'd start getting on that in front of street. So I think there is more to it, but I did like that was the first time that Tail discussion was the first time she felt like she opened up and actually was like, I could trust this Loki or work with this Loki, where the whole time was just like, she seemed like she's waiting for a chance to kill him, take him out, get the tablet or whatever it is. But
before they have the conversation, she's like, I can't sleep in this situation. I don't trust anyone here. And then like 5 minutes later, she's passed out at the bar.
She trusts somebody,
Wakes up to some Asgardian bomb music going off. I like that.
See, and even that, I love that moment where he's almost like silhouetting her, like he's, or like he's just like, he has that moment where he's singing to her. It's very nice and calmly, but then he like freaks out and he's going back
round
to
of
like
applause for Sylvie,
yeah.
But
But there was just a very like kosher moment where it felt very Lord of the Rings, just of like when characters would just randomly start singing in those and it would get like very sensual, and that's what that felt like. So Taylor, you haven't spoken. So what do you feel about, I'll ask you the same question. So what do you feel about Lady Loki so far, and what do you think is the deal with her? Is she what she seems, or is there more than meets the eye?
Ooh, Transformers quote. I like that.
No, that's not where I got it from.
It's okay.
Which movie, Taylor?
All of them. I am all about Sylvie. I am just digging it. Like, again, when if you tune in like episode 2 review, I was already kind of like, I was like tiptoeing into the realm of like really liking like this Lady Loki, and this episode again, just I really like her. I love how she's acting and how she's very different in terms of her magic and her mindset from the Loki we have. I like that it's a Loki that is capable of learning everything that regular Loki is able to do, but they've gone down different, obviously, timelines and paths where they have different magic that they're both intrigued by that they can do that they haven't learned, which I think is just, it's awesome. Again, her her aesthetic and her look and her costume. I love her armor. I love the blonde hair down to here. I'm super into it. I think it's super cool. After the wedding, I'm like, Madison, you want to cut your hair? Like, here you have my you have my 2
Give her
thumbs
some
up.
horns.
Yeah.
Hang on, I gotta saw one off.
But yeah, she's such an interesting character in my opinion. I love that she's basically her being about the mission. I love that because she's not going down her timeline trying to like conquer New York or conquer Earth or something like that. For her, it's like she's literally traveling through time, and that is whatever her mission is and her goal. I feel like it's above.
You said that, but we don't know that. You're like, oh, not to destroy New York, and we don't still know what her exact mission is. We never learned.
Well, again, I'm going to say this again. If she's traveling through time just to destroy New York, then I'll eat my words. But I think that's at the bottom of her priority list.
I guess they did say she's trying to get to the timekeepers and I guess kill them. I guess maybe take them out. So.
I mean, that would make sense why Loki would stop her because Loki doesn't. Well, Loki said he wanted to kill them.
He wanted to overthrow them.
Yeah, which I would think would be killing them. But I of all my predictions that have kind of fallen apart so far, I'm going to stand by the fact that I think it's a Wizard of Oz scenario, and I think this episode kind of cemented a little bit more in that groundwork of that. But again, I think that what she wanted to kill them. I think she wanted to at least just see them and see that okay, they're real. But I think she's awesome. She's so cool. I love how again, like I would definitely put her above, fighting skill Loki, but maybe that could be Loki just kind of like pulling his punches a little bit. I can't tell, but I feel like she's much more better trained than he is because he keeps getting ragdolled.
He's getting beaten up by Avengers. He's not entire life.
That's true. He's not like Ragnarok fighter because like Ragnarok Loki on the bridge of Asgard was just like going to town. He was badass, like slow mo.
Well, that's what he said though. He might. I think he could be pulling his punches.
Slow down time to flip his knives.
I don't think he has the intent of killing her, but also the MCU has done a really poor job with Loki and his power levels because sometimes he is just like super powerful and he's like a god. You gotta take him on
fireworks,
and then other times you have like Valkyrie and Thor Ragnarok who just takes him out in 20 seconds, and it's like, oh, all right. So like they never can establish of like, is Loki ultra powerful or is he not? So I have to kind of headcanon that stuff and just throw it to the side. But I wish they were more consistent on that. But at least I think they gave him a few times where he did show off and like get the best of her or at least tie with her. So that's where I think if he was put in a situation where he had to kill her, it would happen. But I do hope we see a scene where he gets like really well. Even the ending when they were running, I think he was popping off as far as you saw him taking a lot of people. The same thing as her. So I think they still make him feel dangerous enough. So.
Yeah, there's this thing with I feel like just taking from like different types of medias of like when they take like a villain type character and then they're trying to make them good or I don't know, anti-hero type role. I feel like that just naturally like brings them down on a power level because they're not just feeding off their anger. Exactly. They're not feeding off their anger at that point, Sith Lord type powers. You're accessing your anger. It's just like he's become a little bit more humble. He's thinking about his mom, and like that just kind of softens you unintentionally. It makes you a better person, but it softens you. So, like just taking this show, I feel like because of like the emotional stuff that we got in the first episode, there's probably a little bit in episode 2. I can't quite remember, but on that. Sorry, I got distracted by the comment.
Oh, I got a comment on his comment,
but there was some good moments of him actually like getting the better of her. I think it was like right at the elevator when he like quickly grabs her, and then it's like, oh, okay, she's actually not as powerful as I thought because he just like quickly dismantled her, and then she quickly flips it around. So I think they're doing a good job at balancing the two and their power levels. And I definitely feel there was more showcase on her, especially when she was in like that hallway in the TVA and just like fucking doing backflips off the walls and shit. Like, and quickly tying back to Taylor's point on her look, I really like her outfit. I think it's so badass, just like with the cloak and everything. It's really cool.
So my last point on her, that whole scene on the train, I think it was great. I love their discussion, the moments that are just calm and just opened up with between heroes, villains, stuff like that. I think those scenes are just so valuable and so warranted for these characters. I think it's just such a cool grounding experience to see that on the screen with these people. And we know we've had that with Loki in the past, but this just felt like it was like, to me, like the creme de la creme, because I mean, he's disclosing it with him, herself, his equivalent from another timeline. Like it's so unique. And I think that just it was really, really well done. Again, like that scene, I was just like, okay, they're just gonna like sploosh all the like dishes off the table and just jump at each other and go to town. Like it's just, there was so much
not all the planets about the crash.
So much sexual tension. Oh my god, this episode is preaching it. Now on all in the game. So this, I kid you not, this scene, I rewatched it 3 times just real quick. When Loki like did use the force powers, like when the building like stopped and went up, I immediately was like, Hulk's gonna jump out. Hulk's confirmed. Like I don't know why. I just thought Hulk like lifted the building up, it was gonna jump out. It's really random.
Don't worry, Loki, I got you.
That would have been really random.
Keep going.
I owe you for Avengers. All in the game said on that note was he using force powers at the end with that falling building. Yeah, it was, and that's when we talk about power levels, where it's like, yeah, he has problems with some of these guards, but apparently he can just catch a massive ton building and then throw it back pretty effortlessly. Like he didn't break a sweat, he just moved on. So it's like, even at the beginning when he was caught by the TVA and he just walked and got hit by that stick, it's like, you would feel like this Loki, if he can do these things to this building, he could just push these people away. Yeah, sure, he wasn't on guard, he didn't know the TVA, he was just like, oh, leave me alone. But it's just like, that to me again shows like, who knows, maybe it's just he's more focused, maybe it's because it's a life or death situation, that's why he's more powerful, but they never clarify that in the movies and this show, so it's hard for me to tell. But it was a cool moment. I got some like, I felt like some Star Killer moment, you know, of something big falling and him catching it and stuff. So
he like barely sweated too. It was just like fixed. Keeps going with his task. Yeah, didn't have to roll up his sleeves or anything. He was just good.
He looks good in the dress shirt.
And another time he did outsmarter too is when he actually got like, what was the name of the time turner thing? Like when they go back, like the tablet or whatever. But whatever it was, he got that offer too and got to hide that. His drunken ways kind of destroyed that. They're definitely setting him in more that Jack Sparrow type of camp with the drunkenness.
So like that whole thing with Loki, this is kind of the other side of the coin that I was bringing up with just female Loki, and I felt like she was just like to the task. I felt like Loki was completely other side of the spectrum in this episode, and Tempad. Thank you all in the game. That's what it's called. So I feel like I don't have a problem with Loki being goofy or super to the task, but I feel like I was just thrown off by these two versions being so different from another. And like honestly, Loki was so Jack Sparrow at parts, like what you just mentioned, that I almost thought, I'm like, okay, I'm waiting for the reveal where he's like, okay, you know, like I was just a play, like I actually got this power cell while I was doing it. And then when it didn't happen, I was actually quite disappointed because it felt very out of character for Loki because, you know, like he hasn't been, sorry, what does Sylvie say? It's like, this has been like a 10-year plan and whatever it was. Years in the making. And then he was like laughing at her. It's like, what are you talking? Like, you're never going to be able to defeat them. All these things. It's like, this is literally why you went through the portal with her. Like, are you forgetting your own task here? I didn't really like that, honestly. It felt out of character for Loki, and especially just seeing both sides on screen, like Sylvie and then Loki, and I feel like I just didn't quite like that, and that's why I'm kind of hoping for something different with Sylvie. Maybe like she's not actually Loki, maybe there is something different, because then it would explain why they are so different. I don't know.
No, I agree 100%. I was pretty disappointed that, because the whole time there's gonna be something that he tricks her, tricks somebody, and that's why he's drunk. But the fact that it was literally he was just drunk, he's just off the train, and it breaks the temp hat. I didn't like that, because I would understand if they were just maybe on a mission, that'd be fine. But this is a mission of like, if they don't get this temp pad charged, they're gonna die because this planet is gonna crash into him. Same thing. I just don't buy that with Loki. But at the same point, it's tough because they did that same thing in Ragnarok, where like he took over Odin's body, and as Odin, he just like was like jokey king and like had people do those fake plays and got a statue. So it all depends who's writing him, but that was another time like, this doesn't feel like Loki, and this to me didn't feel like it was such something important, especially with like, 1, he might die, 2, he's trying to still take down the TVA, 3, he has this female Loki with him that I feel like even then you might trust her a little bit more, but maybe it's best not to go to sleep or something like that. And I just felt like it was very uncharacteristic. And I feel like the only reason they wrote it is just because we need a reason for them to be thrown off this train. How do we do it? Because they have magic. Oh, here we do. Loki is he's a drunk and he's getting crazy. And I just, I don't know. I thought it was like just an excuse. Like it didn't, I didn't buy into it personally. I was with you that I just felt it was unneeded, or at least it was executed poorly. And I think there was missed opportunity there not to have him planning something, but here we are.
I'm gonna play the opposite card here and just say that I feel like it's not all over. I think it was, if that's how they wrote it, then I will agree that is poor, but I feel like it's too simple. The Loki that I would anticipate that the device wouldn't have been destroyed, the temp. I feel like, again, we're still on the same planet. He was still go and fighting till the end to get out of here, but at the very end he was putting a lot of pressure into trying to like make it out of there. But the whole time leading up to that, he was very calm and collected, just like not lazy, but it's like flamboyant, drunk and just taking it easy. So I feel like there's something that he's figured out, and I feel like he's just withholding that, and I think they're withholding it from the viewer as well. So again, and I say that only because we didn't get them leaving the planet. If they left the planet, I would have suspected there was something, okay, like they're just moving on. But they're still on the planet. I feel like maybe he could just turn and be like, I got here's the temp pad, it's all good, or something. He's just gonna do something, or somehow he's gonna figure something out. So I feel like
to make the last 10 minutes of this episode feel like unnecessary. If it starts with I got the temp pad and we just beat up all these guards for no reason. I
think it'll segue to that within reason, because again, like either way, there's the route that we got, which wasn't the best for his character development, or then there's this route, which at least like it would show that maybe he did this just a way like to try and convince her through a lie to trust him, or maybe he's trying to prove a point that he's the more powerful Loki by like saying like, I this whole time, like, look what I was capable of over you, or something like that. Because again, I feel like he's trying to connect to a degree, but he still has that mindset of I want to be the best and I am the better Loki.
I hope you're right. I think you're giving him too much credit for this plan. I think it's not going to be referred to ever again, and he just got drunk, and we're going to have to be like, oh, okay, luckily it wasn't as bad as Ralph Boner. Yeah, like these things happen where it's just like, okay, he just got drunk, and I know some people might be saying, oh, well, maybe he's just very sad right now because like he found out how he died and his mom died, like all this stuff. It's like, yeah, true, but I just, just didn't float my boat, so. Where do we want to go to next with the episode 3?
I have an interesting sideways question. So do you guys think in her timeline, Thor is a female, or what will you guys think?
Well, I was curious about that because I was waiting for Loki to bring up Thor, but at the same point, this is a time like, well, I guess he saw that Thor and him get back together, but in 2012, this is a time where he would have been like, don't mention Thor, like, I don't want to talk about Thor, it's all about me. I was waiting for him to just even ask, like, if you have a brother, and they say, oh, no, a sister, and then they just move on, so I wouldn't assume that. I think you could easily have her, because she's adopted, right? So it doesn't mean that bloodlines change. It could have been the other one that changed. You could easily have Hemsworth in there as her like brother, but I hope we get more of that. I hope it's just addressed. I don't need like an episode or 10 minutes. Just like I would like to know, like, yeah, there's a Thor there, or I'd like to know that she hates the Thor there just as much as Loki hated the Thor on his planet. Like that would be fun, another bonding thing. So I hope we get more of that. I think there's definitely a chance if we still have 3 episodes left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely think it was a strategic choice though to like only reveal like the mother stuff from her. Like there's just so many unanswered questions revolving.
Well, and the love interest. Remember, she said that she struck up a relationship with some like post office guy while she was in between.
The post office guy. The post office guy I'm calling out is Stan Lee because he's a postman. Remember? Yeah, wouldn't that be a crazy connection?
I don't think so, but you rocked that connection.
I took that as just a joke. It's just like,
was it a joke?
I
thought it might be a joke,
but
really?
I wondered. No, dumbass. Not
she
actually.
Well, yeah, but she just went on for so long talking about it, and they also were talking about how like, they've both met people and they just can't find the right one, and the whole love is a dagger like metaphor and stuff like that. That's why I thought she was talking about this guy, or that's why I think it could actually be Loki, and that's why she's hinting around like, oh yeah, it's just some like delivery guy, paper guy, but it is like
That'd be
whatever
fun.
that version of Loki is, you know. And not saying he has to be the paper guy. I'm just saying that's her creating some like wobbly excuse for not having to say like, yeah, I'm not Loki, you know.
Right. No, for sure. Yeah. And like I do find it really interesting how like pushback she was when he was calling her Loki. It's like, don't call me that, like blah blah blah. And then he called her a variant. It's like, don't call me that. Well, what the hell do I call you? And then I don't know, like there's gotta be a moment where she explains why she doesn't want to be called that or something. Because if it's just not touched upon again, that'll be another thing that I'm gonna look back on, just be disappointed on. Because it's just like they just did that so not to confuse the viewers. I don't know.
Well, one, I think you're 100% right. I think that's why. So if she sticks around the future, it's not Lady Loki. Because one, it doesn't confuse the viewers, and two, you don't want some fucking guy to write some article being like, "Oh, they're calling her Lady Loki. MCU is sexist as fuck." Like that's probably why they did that as well. But I do think the fact that she changed her name, and he's like, that's not very Loki-like, and she's like, it is for me, but like she changed her name, she was adopted like him, but then also like how did she lose her parents so early then, right? So it's the thing of like, I think there's definitely more to the story as far as her name, and obviously there's more story, but we still have 3 episodes left, so that's tons of time to give us enough information about what she might be up to or lack thereof.
They could just try calling her like Sylvie Laffy daughter, or not Laffy son, because it's obviously Laffy daughter.
Laffy daughter.
No, it could be Laffy son. That was just the name.
Laffy
they didn't
lady.
call Loki Laffy son.
But Laffy son because he's the son of Laffy, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so.
Like
yeah,
so it'll be Laffy daughter.
Or Odin's son.
I don't know what that goes for in the daughter route.
Odin lady.
Oh yeah,
Odin
Lady Odin. Loden. We're gonna take our second ad break, and then we're gonna be back talking about maybe who the real big bad and all this is. So we'll be right back. And we're back. So all in the game, he brought it up in the chat here, and I'm excited to talk about this. Not the it's Lottie daughter.
I don't like the way that's spelled. That hurts my eyes.
Yeah. But more or less, all in the game, you're probably right there. So we have this great moment where they are walking to the downtown area, and she's talking about enchanting someone. I thought the explanation was pretty fucking weak when she's like, you just have to grab someone and get in their mind. And he's like, well, how do you do that? She's like, well, some minds are easy, you just do it instantly, and some others you use trick, and you just gotta make it feel like you're in control while they're there. But I still was like, I feel like Loki could have figured that out by himself and just thought about that, but that's fine. He needed some guidance.
Like astounded, like, oh,
yeah,
that makes sense now.
But either way, she talks about like with the harder minds, the method she uses sometimes is using nostalgia or using a memory to get things out of a person, and that's where she brought up the TVA agent, saying it was very hard to do that with her and had to go back years and years before she was an agent. Loki goes, what do you mean before she was an agent? And brings like, well, yeah, there, didn't you know or didn't you know she's a variant? And then he goes like, what do you mean? And then they start to explain between her and him that all these TVA cops are variant, as far as she's saying, but I feel like the way it was portrayed in the show, everything like that, it is a big reveal and it's supposed to happen. And this is something where I talked about a few episodes ago. Yes, I still don't like the second Sylvie shows up to the joint, her magic's just gone. I still think that's too much of an overpowered thing. Like I said, if like you're telling me like a Thanos would have showed up there with all 6 stones and he would have been nothing, so I don't like how powerful that is. But I did like that we got Loki question them a little bit, but these are the first real signs that okay, the TVA are lying and they may not be what they seem. And that's what I really like about in episode 1 when they gave these rules about like, oh, the Avengers, that was supposed to happen and you did this. If they're shady with this already, like keeping people and maybe variants against their will, and instead of disintegrating, what we've seen is maybe they're not disintegrating, maybe they're just like teleporting them to a different spot in the TVA. The fact that they're acting shady now makes me feel a lot better about my questions as these rules that they have, and could that really hurt the canon and hurt stuff going forward? If they've proven to be bullshit some other places, I think that's really going to help for me. So, what do you guys think about that revelation of the TVA having majority, if not all the agents are variants?
Yeah, I really like that reveal, actually. I felt like that was the one moment in the episode where I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, now we're getting, in the Wanda WandaVision territory of like, oh my gosh, okay. Because
don't bring back that fucking guy though. What was that agent's name? The shitty agent in WandaVision. You remember him, right?
Tyler something.
Yeah, he helps create like snow vision and stuff. Please don't be him again.
Yeah, no, let's not talk about him. But oh no. Hey, all in the game reminded me. Hayward. There you go.
Hayward, yeah.
Tyler
Hayward.
Tyler,
yeah. If he shows up,
that
that's
guy.
it. That's it. Loki's done. I'm done with this show. If
He's
like a TV
for kids, yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the timekeepers.
But yeah, no, like I think it was the first or second episode, I had some issues with the TVA and how, like, you know, at that point in time, they were explaining that they were just made from the timekeepers. But they're supposed to just be this super powerful force, but I just felt like they were so underpowered. Like they just felt so dumb for what they should have been. Their combat was so sloppy, which was shown again here. Like honestly, female Loki comes up and she just like bops all of them. I don't know. Like again, obviously this was before it was revealed that they are just variants, so they're not all powerful. But in that moment, I like wrote my note. I'm like, TVA is still a bitch. Like this is ridiculous. And
this might really explain why they're a bitch, you know?
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I really like that reveal. I felt like it happened at a good point in the show. You know, this is what, episode 3 of 6, so we're halfway through now. And
and right at the end too, so he can't really ask many questions. So it gives us time to think about and theorize.
Speculate. Yeah, exactly. So I really like that. I feel like it gives a lot more layers to the TVA characters. And again, just tying into that, like I love the opening scene in this, how it just started with I think her name was like C20 or something, like that cop that revealed where the timekeepers were and all that stuff. And that music that kicked in, like I was just like, okay, where are we going with this? And then it was just like 2 girls, you know, having a drink, whatever. And like whenever she would like start to like catch on to something, like it almost reminded me of like WandaVision, where it's just like,
very WandaVision.
I don't know who you are. And then it gets all creepy. And then she kind of like, I don't know, lack of a better term, kind of resets her, brings her back. Because again, just thinking back to like Owen Wilson's character and how he was like, oh, I just love, what was it, snowmobiles or ski-doos, whatever it was that he was just praising.
People have pointed out that a lot of his stuff at his desk and everything is centered around the 90s. So it feels like that may have been when he was living and they took him from there.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. So like those moments that were kind of talked about in the early episodes when they were just having dialogue, and then now it's revealed that, oh my gosh, he actually is a person. It's not like he was just born to live for the timekeeper. So I felt like that was just a really, really good reveal. It opened up so many, I don't know, possible ways to go with these types of characters. It's not like they're just for the timekeepers. Like maybe there'll be a realization, you know, and then I don't know, break their chains and stuff. But overall, I really, really like that reveal. It helped some of my issues I had with the TVA and how they just felt like buffoons at some points. But then they're also just these almighty powerful dudes. You know, they got like their little drawer filled with Infinity Stones. Like, so yeah, I really, really like that, and I'm excited going forward. And you know, talking about the big bad, which is Big Bad 3. I don't know. Is there 3 timekeepers or
there? Well, if there is those timekeepers, right? That's the thing.
If there
is one, like Taylor said, the Wizard of Oz situation. But it is tough because one of those statues does look a lot like Kang, so it's like so there's definitely some fun speculation to be had coming up here. So, what do you feel, Taylor, about this situation?
Yeah, it's I mean, it's unfolding. It's interesting. I mean, it's unfolding before
it's unfolding.
I as far as the big bad goes, the TVA itself just seems extremely shady at this point. This episode just reinforced it, especially because they just abduct people from their timelines and they wipe their memory of their they wipe their memory or they lock it because they don't know their variants.
It's like a brain freeze.
The woman, it's like a brain freeze. The woman recalled her memories with Sylvie, but she wasn't able to recall it as herself not being created by the Time Lords or the Timekeepers. So it's interesting how they're going to explain that, because she has the memories and she was experiencing the memory. She could remember about she loves the margaritas and all that stuff, but yet she wasn't able to remember on her own accord that, okay, I'm not from the timekeepers. I'm a variant. So obviously there is some kind of mind control, some kind of form of brain freeze going on. And maybe that is a metaphor. Indeed, like the brain freeze is just how they quick kind of like explain, they don't remember whatever in the past. So I do think that this lady that's kind of leading the charge and is like Owen Wilson's report to Commander-in-Chief. Travis has passed out, it looks like. Oh, he's here. He's here.
He's just meditating on your
He's
words.
meditating.
Thinking
He's
about
like
thinking
soaking
about
it
it.
in. Yeah. Oh yeah, take it. Yeah, I just think that well, all in the game, Kang is a Wizard of Oz. So like my Wizard of Oz kind of like ideology, I don't know anything about Kang, so I can't speak to that. My idea was
Master time traveler.
Yeah.
Related to Reed Richards.
Really? Oh, wow,
Yes.
that's interesting.
Lineage.
So
And his girlfriend / lover is the judge right now of the girl that you had in our previous thumbnail with like the staff, and she was like going after them. Yes, so they are.
Well, that's just setting it up. That well, I wish I knew that previously.
Okay,
well,
that changes everything.
I try not to tell you all the things, because when I told you the first episode, Agatha Harkness was maybe going to be that thing. I was like, oh, maybe in the future I'll try to hint a bit more and not be like, well, this. I don't even remember what her fake name was. What was Agatha's fake name?
Agnes?
Yeah, I think it was Agnes. Yeah, the combo. So yeah,
this totally
has lots of
changes
connections to things, and yeah, I don't know if it's a Wizard of Oz situation. I think it's more that they do have power, because Wizard of Oz would. The reason why I can't be with you on this thing of like there might be a lie, but Wizard of Oz had no powers. That was the whole thing. Like he couldn't grant these people these wishes. No matter what the TVA is, they've been proven they have these powers. They can make Infinity Stones mean nothing. They can take out literal gods or human beings. So I think it's just that people have speculated this, and I like this too, that when they talk about that sacred war and that the battle of the timeline won, people are saying instead of the timeline synchronizing, that maybe this is just the timeline that won, and they're trying to make sure the other timelines don't get back or don't come back. So I could see a Wizard of Oz and the sense of the motives different, and maybe it's Kang or a combo of Kang and her, or just somebody using the TVA as a way for their own means and like what they want to do with time and everything like that.
In terms of like the power levels, I definitely I agree. I wouldn't use the Wizard of Oz the Wizard has no powers, Kang has no powers, anything like that. No, power levels off the table. My relation is it's all an illusion. You have these multiple timekeepers when in reality it's just this guy who's Kang the Conqueror who can travel through time. It's not the almighty timekeeper, three of them that have been running the show since the beginning of time, basically. So
yeah, I get what you're putting down. I wouldn't mind that. I don't know. That's been the big debate. Do we see Kang in the show? I don't think so. Maybe it might just be a small cameo or voice, but I don't think so. But he was cast pretty early on before Ant-Man 4, so there's always a chance. But if you ask me, I'm saying no. So
was he the one who's supposed to be an Ant-Man?
He is. Yeah, that's confirmed. He's the
that would work because you got like the quantum zone and all that stuff, which is like in between times. So that's it's a segue.
Yep. What else? Is there anything else we haven't touched upon that you guys want to talk about for this episode? We talked about TVA, talked about Loki, talked about some Tom Hiddleston. Didn't get much of anybody else. No Owen Wilson this episode. So I think we will see him next week. I think he could be one of the potential things how they get off this rock is like maybe he finds their coordinates and goes get them. But
yeah, I was missing him, honestly. I really like the sit down between Sylvie and Loki in that diner or the bar scene, whatever. But like before that, when they were just like wandering together, distracting me with these funny comments.
All the games is literally not Kang.
He's not understanding.
No sense.
I need to clarify for afterwards.
No, I think he's agreeing with us. Not literally as Kang being powers. That would make no sense. Yeah, I think he's agreeing with us. Yeah, you just pull up and Kang's played by Ben Kingsley again, and everyone's like, "Oh shit, that's not Kang," and he's just like,
"I'm an actor."
Yeah. Anyways, you're saying Kirklin about them strolling.
Yeah, so like them just strolling along and stuff, and like after they had that diner scene, I really liked like the two talking together, and then after that, when they were kind of comparing powers and they like seemed interested in kind of what they were doing, like she was interested in, I can't remember what she was interested in, probably just like him transforming constantly and just doing the fireworks. Yeah, that was pretty badass. So like that stuff was really cool. But before that, I was like, I like the Owen Wilson Tom combo more, and because I really like them together in that.
Yeah.
But honestly, I feel like when he went through that portal, that kind of shifted things a lot. And again, maybe the curtain will be revealed, or maybe sorry, screwed up that reference. Owen Wilson will like peer through the curtain and see that he's kind of being puppeteered by the timekeepers. Then maybe he'll be like, oh shit, maybe helping these two Lokis will help me get out of this situation or something like that. So there is a possibility that they will be working together. But just as I was watching it, I'm like, okay. So first 2 episodes, that's like a third of the way through the series. So is that all I'm going to get through them? Unfortunately, that's probably the case, but I don't know now, because
I think you'll get a little more of them working together, because you say like, oh, Owen Wilson will see it. I think that he will talk to Loki, and Loki will put that idea in his head, and then he'll look more into what's going on. That's what I think is going to happen.
He seems like a curious individual, so you'd probably want to look into that sort of stuff.
If they hadn't had the conversations about faith and what do you believe and why you're here, then it'd say, like maybe there's a chance Loki doesn't tell him, but this would be Loki just having a, I told you so moment of, things that you said to me aren't true, and the TVA is not everything they appear to be. So I think that they will. Loki and Owen Wilson Mobius will have some more scenes, and I think some crucial ones coming. I would hope so, at least.
It's like what he said in the last episode. He loves to be proven right. So just for, even if he's not trying to help Owen Wilson, he just wants to prove to him that he's right. So, but because I just really like their dialogue between each other when they're just like kind of shooting shots at each other. It's just like a buddy cop type movie, and they have good on-screen chemistry. So I wanted more of that. So I think I was a little bitter in the beginning. It's like, oh, this is his new buddy cop. I don't really like her, but as the episode went on, I started to like her more, and hopefully that's the trend for the series. Hopefully by the end, I'm falling in love with the character like Taylor. I'm telling Shay to dye her hair blonde and cut it short.
Well, and plus, the one dynamic I liked about was we had Owen Wilson, who knows everything about Loki and wonders if he can trust him. Now you have our Loki, the same thing of like, technically you would think that he thinks he knows everything about Loki, how she acts, how she thinks, and now it's like, can he trust her? So it's fun seeing the first 2 episodes. Mobius was in that position, but now he's in the exact same position that Mobius was. So
true,
it's kind of a fun, strange bedfellow situation.
That's a good observation.
So. Thank you. That's what I do here. Travis of GeekVerse.
Well,
remember, it's Travis and the GeekVerse. That's what this podcast will be called.
And the Super Friends.
Anything else we haven't shouted out yet?
The score just keeps getting better and better. I love the music so much.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree with that. So the planet itself, or the moon rather, I really, really liked it, but there is certain scenes that it might have just been the coloring of it, but it just seems so obviously like green screen, like zoomed in when they were kind of talking to each other.
Prequel era,
yeah. And like, I think it's just because like the colors are just so like vibrant and just so wild that it's noticeable when they zoom in like that. But overall, I really like the planet and the design, and like the purple sky looked gorgeous. You can see it behind us right now. I forgot that was actually the image because it's just so like pixelated, but nonetheless, there's just certain scenes that kind of took me out of it because it's just like, oh right, these are actors on a green screen. I kind of got reminded by that. So it's a TV show, so maybe if this was a full feature film, we wouldn't really have those moments. Because I mean, if you just look to like Infinity War or something, when they go to what is it,
Boromir.
Yeah, but then think about Thor Ragnarok with that island. So sometimes even in the movies we get some shit play. Yeah, look at it.
Remember this, my son.
Beautiful. Yeah. So even in the movies we get some shit places too.
That is
sometimes.
A good point.
Yeah. Anything else to talk about that we haven't yet?
I think we pretty much covered all my notes I had.
Yeah.
Nope.
Very excited for next week. Like I said, this was the episode that ended that I was pissed because I was like, okay, it's gonna show them not get away, and then I thought it was gonna end with, oh, this is the solution. But when it just ended, it was like, no, you'll have to wait till next week. I was like, god damn, composer went on Bryn's Got Talent to throw eggs on Simon Cowell for his dreadful influence on the music industry. I don't know much about that, but I agree with the score. It's just been phenomenal with the credits, the end credits. We didn't get the big end credit banger song this time, but they're just might be my favorite. I think it's definitely my favorite score of the show so far. So
I agree. I quite like it.
Mm-hmm. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Loki episode 3. We will be back next week. We've made halfway through the season. We are done. So that's going to be a good thing. I'm very excited. And especially, I think it's the second last episode or whatever. There's 1 week where we got that and Black Widow back to back. So it's going to be a fun MCU week. So stay tuned. Let's see what our theories were right next week. If we're wrong, if we get any more. Is there a female Thor? Do we meet Mobius again? We going to see Kang. We going to see some other Loki variants, which I really hope we do, not just her. So, when you hear from us next, it'll not be boring.
Farewell.
Bye-bye.
All right, hold on. I'm sorry. I tried to rule